Well guys, I have to say, I think that this is probably one of the best views yet. And it's perfect for this video because this should be one of the craziest videos that you'll see on YouTube. That's the honest truth. Now, we've got an iPad. You know, we don't normally work off that. We work with a notepad and pen, but don't worry, we have got our paper with us because I'm going to go through a lot of information with you today on this video. And for those curious that haven't seen the previous two videos that I did, I mentioned that I was going to share with you basically a discovery that I believe that I have made. And this is when I was in my van in London and I'd smoked a joint one night. I'd watched Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock on the Joe Rogan podcast. I'd actually seen that quite a few years before, but I'm interested in this topic of this great reset, the flooding that's happened all around the earth, and this kind of thing. And basically, it got me interested. So I started studying Google Earth one night, and yeah, I mean, this sounds totally ridiculous, I know. And trust me, I couldn't sleep after I saw this and went through this. And as far as I know, I'm relatively sane, and you'll hopefully see that with the evidence that I'm about to present to you on this video. And I'll say it now. I'm about to show you visual evidence on Google Earth that is proposing that an asteroid has hit Earth, and by far the biggest impact ever on Earth, much bigger than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs, much bigger than, I think it's the Vredefort impact in South Africa. That's actually the biggest. This is on a scale like you could never even imagine. And not only am I going to show you where this has actually impacted Earth and show you all of the visual evidence, I'm going to show you that this asteroid has not only hit Earth, but it's gone through Earth and come out the other side. Now, even in this silence, in this location, I can hear loads of people laughing at home. And trust me, I probably would be too. If this random long-haired dude started saying this to me and he's trying to talk about an asteroid going through the Earth. And I know it sounds totally crazy and completely ridiculous, and trust me, it is. And I couldn't sleep because of it. What I want to say is, what I'm going to do to start off with, because I've communicated with Graham Hancock about this, I've sent him an email, and I'm going to share that email with you guys first. And I know normally that's probably the other way round. A lot of people would create hype showing this and, oh, look, I wonder what Graham Hancock has said. No. Because just his response alone and the fact that he hasn't debunked it or said anything that it's probably not happened because of this or this or this shows that this should probably be taken seriously. Because if it does turn out to be true, then it will go down as one of the biggest discoveries in history. Now, when I first discovered this, I was looking on Google Earth. I was in the back of my van. It was the very early stages of building my van when I was sleeping in the car park on a church ground in Mile End in London. And I was chilling, I'd watched this episode, I started looking on Google Earth, and then I spotted something, and I was like, nah, this can't be real. I kept looking more and more and more. And you know when the pieces just start fitting together? And I'm going to show you all of this. And so far, there has not been one single piece of visual evidence that contradicts this or goes in the opposite direction to say something else should have happened. Now, you may want to watch, if you haven't already, Randall Carlson in particular, and Graham Hancock, especially together on the Joe Rogan podcast, because that will basically get you up to date with the great flooding that's happened on the planet about 11,600 to 12,900 years ago, we believe. And there was basically a great reset on civilization. This is where Graham Hancock is basically saying that, you know, there was an advanced civilization that got wiped out, advanced toolery, advanced times. And Randall Carlson is basically just a knowledge machine. And he's gathered so much evidence to show that there was mass flooding all over the earth at this time. And basically the ice caps melted. They believe, and I think it's called the Younger Dryas impact theory or hypothesis, I'm not sure. And it's basically multiple impacts that hit Earth, multiple asteroids that hit Earth, and the ice caps melted. And it created a period of cooling and warming on the Earth, but there was huge flooding all over the world. And they say that 75% of all megafauna, so megafauna is like the big, I don't know what you'd call them, animals basically, like the giant sloth, woolly mammoth, all this kind of stuff. They literally got wiped out and became extinct. And more than likely, the same happened to the human population, but obviously we didn't go extinct, but it was probably just those who were at the tops of mountains or up mountain ranges that realistically survived. That's what it's looking like anyway. So that's where this work came from. This is where this interest came from. I'd never heard anything about it until I watched that probably about 7-8 years ago now for the first time on Joe Rogan. And then I watched it again. It piqued my interest again. I watched more. And then, yeah, I started just looking at Google Earth. And yeah, this just basically came about. So what I'm going to do first, and now, I'm going to share with you what Graham Hancock said about this. And then I'm going to use my phone because I found this on my phone. You can do exactly the same, just download Google Earth and then have a look at basically what I'm saying has happened. And I'm pretty sure, I'll say it right now. One, I'm completely open to being wrong. If anything, I would like someone to prove me wrong, because then I can just put this to bed. So please do leave your feedback. That's why I'm doing this video, because I want feedback. If you know someone that knows a lot of information about this or could help, please share this video with them. Because I can't stop at least sharing this until we figure out whether it has happened or it hasn't happened. But what I also want to say right now, based on purely the visual evidence alone, which I'm going to show you, I believe that the majority of you watching this, as crazy as it sounds, an asteroid hitting the planet and going through the Earth and coming out the other side, I believe the majority of you are going to finish this video thinking, wow, it looks like this has actually happened. And if it turns out to be true, it's got to be one of the craziest videos on YouTube. So I created a video for Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson. They were very difficult to get hold of. I was trying to get hold of Randall Carlson, really, to be honest with you. But I couldn't get hold of him. I managed to get hold of Graham Hancock because I had quite a large LinkedIn following, whatever you want to call it at the time. And I connected with him. I sent him a message, asked if are you the author of Fingerprints of the Gods. He said yes. I said, look, I've got something that I need to show you. And I created a 27-minute video for him. I uploaded it to YouTube as a private link. I sent it over to him and he responded. So first, here is my email to Graham after he's saying, please title it Google Earth Evidence. And this was my first email. Hi Graham, I'm very excited to share this with you. I'm hoping you can see what I see. I've recorded on my phone as this is how I experience this. I've created a YouTube account and uploaded this video just for you and Randall to see. It's 27 minutes long, but I've tried to explain everything as clearly as possible. The video cuts out at the end. A call came in whilst I was recording my screen. Thank you for your work. I hope you find this of great value. I put a link. Don't worry guys, that link is not active anymore. It's a private link. If you'd like to call me, here's my number. Obviously I'm going to hide that number. Best wishes, Simon. Okay, so that's the email that I sent to Graham. And now here's his response, and this is exactly how he responded. I'm going to share this with you, and then I'm going to share my thoughts, and then I'm going to share my screen with you and basically show you the exact journey that I went on in the back of my van. Hi Simon, I saw your latest LinkedIn message. Apologies for not replying sooner, just ridiculously busy. I've now devoted half an hour to your video. Your observations about the Bolivian salt lakes are interesting and tie in with the ideas of Arthur Poznański. But if the event you are speculating about took place at all, then it certainly did not do so in the last 100,000 years. More like hundreds of millions of years or even billions of years, and therefore outside of my area of interest, since it would be long before there were humans on the planet. I have to make quick decisions about what I spend my time on, even though those decisions may prove to be wrong, and my decision is not to spend more time on this. I hope you are proved right in your speculation, but I have nothing useful to contribute. Please understand why I can't engage in further correspondence. Best wishes, Graham. Now, here's my honest thoughts on this. When I first got that response, I was disappointed. And that's because I was extremely excited, and I'm in this hyped up stage thinking, oh my days, this is the biggest discovery in history. This rewrites history. It gives a lot of answers to unexplained happenings, or what we don't know what's going on with continents and this kind of stuff. But then as time's gone on, actually when I look at this, the fact that I am proposing to Graham Hancock, that's been on Netflix, that is the author of many books, has been seen tens of millions of times around the world. The fact that I have shared a 27-minute video with Graham Hancock proposing that an asteroid has gone through the Earth, and he has come back to me and said, if the event you are speculating about did take place, it didn't happen in 100,000 years, I hope you'll prove right in your speculation. There is literally not a single thing on this email that says, actually, no, what about this? Or Simon, look at this. Or, you know, this is wrong because of this. Literally not one. So I have to keep going with this. And you know something as well? Every single person that I've spoke to about this, not a single person has been able to prove this wrong. Not one. And I'm going to tell you another thing as well. I rang up the newspapers because I discovered this 2 years ago. I think it was October the 4th, I believe, 2022. I can check because I put a video on YouTube and privated it, and you know, I was trying to record and stuff like this, but I just couldn't. And I just said that I'm just absolutely exhausted. I can't sleep, but I've got to share this. I believe that an asteroid's hit Earth. It's hit in here. It's come out here. This is why, blah, blah, blah. And I just wanted to basically timestamp it. And I rang up the newspapers. And granted, I was kind of taking the piss. I've also got video evidence of me ringing up the newspapers from when I was at work, because I wanted to document it. And granted, like I said, I was taking the piss. I was saying, you know, I think I found the biggest discovery ever. It's the largest impact on Earth. It rewrites history. It sounds completely extreme, I understand. But I remember, and it's the Times newspaper, and I got through to the news team and I said this, and you know what this person said to me? What qualifications do you have? And to me, that's completely ridiculous because, well, my response to her was, well, I've got an MVQ2 in plumbing and heating, if that helps. I thought I'd just take the piss back because I thought, well, do you have to be qualified to see an impact on Earth through Google Earth? I don't really know what qualifications you would need other than to have a pair of eyes. And when I last got checked, I had 20/20 vision. Granted, that was a long time ago, but I think my eyes are okay. But anyway, at least that shows you guys that I'm actually taking this seriously. So one last thing before I share my screen with you. Now, I said that I had a joint and I'd smoked some weed in the back of my van. After work, I was chilling. Now, why am I saying this? The reason that I'm saying this is because I am a big supporter and a big advocate for psychedelics, especially if they come from Mother Earth, our planet. And there is a misconception that people, when they have a joint or they smoke some weed, it makes you stupid and lazy and dumb and you're just high. So that's why I wanted to share that with you, because it's important to know that I was high when I was relaxed and started going through the motions of working through discovering this. And another reason that I'm saying that to you is because in a future video I am going to share with you my Changa, DMT and ayahuasca experience and when I met the creator. And I think that that's important. So anyway, onwards and upwards, folk. I'm going to share my screen with you on my phone. We're going to get out our magical paper notes because I've wrote everything down on this A4 piece of paper. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you on the exact journey that I went on when I was in my van. So I didn't just start at this discovery point or start at the exit point, ripples, flows of water, anything like this. I'm going to show you exactly the journey that I went on so you can go on the same journey, and then you can see how this developed. And by the end of it, I can guarantee you, you'll never look at Google Earth the same way again. All right, I'm going to share with you my screen now. One last time, please do leave a comment. Please do share this with someone. I've never asked you to leave comments or anything like this. I'm doing this because this needs to be heard by people, and I also need answers myself. All right, let's get into it. All right, everybody, welcome to my wonderful phone screen. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you on the exact journey that I went on 2 years ago in my van, how I first found this, what I was looking at, and then it will give you a better understanding as to how this came about. I'm just on Google Earth at the moment, the exact same Google Earth that you guys can download on your phone. So please do, especially after this, if you don't already have it, and then we can have a look at this properly, and then you can also see exactly what I'm seeing. Because trust me, what I'm about to show you, I think you will see that it almost looks picture perfect that this has actually happened. It looks like Google Earth has literally been painted to make it appear that this has happened. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a placer on the screen so then you can see exactly where my eyes are looking, and then hopefully we can go on the same journey together. Now what I want to do first of all, and like I said, if you've not watched the Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson episode on Joe Rogan, you're going to have to basically just take my word for this. What we're doing here is we're starting at Mauritania. This is the exact same position that I started at 2 years ago. And basically what Randall Carlson tells us is that these flow lines going from right to left in this direction, these are flow patterns from huge amounts of water. And basically what's happened, huge amounts of water has come across the land here and then exited, and I believe this is called a crevice, and it's where a huge amount of water has flowed across the land, and this has caused basically an indent, you could say, in the ocean, and then obviously it's flowed off naturally. So what we are absolutely looking at here, everything that you see here, this is all flow lines of water, okay? Now this is what they discuss on the Joe Rogan podcast together, and this is part of the huge flooding that happened all over the earth. Now the thing that I did differently, or what I didn't notice happened on that podcast when Randall Carlson was talking about the flood and the flow patterns of water, I started to zoom out. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off and we'll make this clean so it's easier to see. Now you can see here the patterns of water come from the right over here and they flow in this direction to the Western Sahara over here. Now if I keep zooming out, which is exactly what I did, you can move further over to the right and you'll see that it looks like the water has come from this direction. Now I kept going over to the right and it seems very obvious to me that all of the water is basically flowing in one direction. And as I've got the map, I'm going to use the directions right and left just because it's easier, because the Earth is going to be in a different upside down position to how it normally is, because that's how I was looking at this and I was moving the Earth around. Now you can see here the water, it looks like this is taking huge amounts of water over here, but either way it all flows in one direction, and that's from the right to the left. It looks like the water's flowed along, come along. You can see it coming in here, swirling around here. It looks like it's come into this position here. It looks like it's also then continued to flow across the land, exactly where we see it come near Mauritania over here. And that looks very obvious to me. I don't know whether it's because I've obviously been studying this and looking at the Earth for some time. I'm obviously going to share this with you guys as concise as possible, but I was probably looking at Google Earth for about 5-6 hours that evening when this all came about, okay? So basically we're saying the water has come from the far right hand side here. It's flowed over the land. You can see all of this looks like it's taken huge amounts of water. The water's kept flowing across the Earth and then it has ended back into the ocean here. So what I did, I continued following these flow lines of water back, and then basically you can see here now we reach the ocean. So to me, that would say that the huge mass of water has come from this ocean and it's flowed in this direction to go across the land. That looks pretty obvious to me that the water's come from that direction. So what I did then, I started to move up, because obviously it looks like it's come from this direction. You've also got this black line here. And I noticed this next mass of land. Now it also follows the same direction. It looks like the water's come across and then it's absolutely swamped this land. And I would say that this kind of looks like the bottom of a dried up swamp or something like that, if you can see the kind of same thing that I'm talking about. But either way, you notice it looks like it's flowed in this direction, going from right to left. So I continued to follow the land up. Now this is where you've got to bear in mind, I am not an archaeologist, a scientist, a biologist, a historian, or whatever else, historian or ist that you need to be. I'm just a guy that was living in the back of his van on a church ground and just had a curious mind. Now I came to the next landmass. Now, to me, at the time, the complete untrained eye, one, it still continues to flow in this direction. You notice the smooth land that we've got going along here, smooth land going along here, as if water shaped the land as if it's come across. Now, like I said, to the untrained eye, I was curious as to what this white point was on the Earth. It turns out that this is the salt lakes in Bolivia. Now, to me, when I first saw this, I did not have a clue about any of this. And to the complete untrained eye, which I believe it's probably fortunate that it was an untrained eye, because it allows me to look at things slightly different. Now, I looked at this, and from now on, I'm going to call this the impact site, the entry point, because I looked at this, and to me, this looked like an asteroid had hit in here. And also, this looks like fiery land. And it turns out that around what I'm now going to be calling the entry point, it is heavily volcanic. This is a volcano. All of these around here are volcano. And it's heavily volcanic around this entry point. Now, I zoomed out further then after investigating and looking at this land. And then I noticed this over here. And I'm going to go into further details. What I'll do first of all, I'll explain everything that I saw to the untrained eye and the untrained mind, we should say. And then I'm going to talk about the further evidence that I've gathered. But first I'll take us on the journey as to what the untrained eye and the untrained mind saw. Now I saw these here, which look to me like shock waves. These are mountains created and caused by shock waves. Now you can see that they also follow perfectly around the what I'm classing as an entry point. Now if I take us over to the Vredefort impact in South Africa, just to give you some context here, this is the largest impact site known at this moment in time, without this video, on Earth. It is the dinosaurs, the one that wiped out the dinosaurs is second. The Vredefort in South Africa is the largest. Now the reason I want to show you this, look, if we zoom out here, you will notice, and that you can see here, these are mountains that are caused by the shock wave from this impact. And this is known, okay? So this is not a theory. I'm not where I'm theorizing around the salt lakes in Bolivia as an impact site, and they are created mountains from the shock waves. These are mountains that are created from shock waves from an impact. I can't remember the exact date. It might be 300 million years ago, something like this, of this one. I could be out with that time frame, so don't quote me on that. But these, all of these that you see around here, and they keep going off quite further into the distance, these are shock waves that are created from this impact. Now, if I just quickly zoom in here and I take us to this land, I just want to do this so you can actually understand the scale, because these are literally, well, mini mountains is probably the best way. You can see all of these are shock waves, and if I take us over this mountain top here, zoom out a bit, you can see the mountains that this impact created, and they are all over the land here. I may show you on an up and coming video the scale of this, because there's obviously pictures of where you can see people standing next to these in vehicles and stuff to give you an example of the size. But either way, these are that's the impact site of Vredefort in South Africa, and they are the shock waves. Now you can see obviously how small scale this is compared to what I'm proposing, especially when we zoom out and then we go over to Bolivia. The scale of this is absolutely enormous. I've done all of the maths. I'm going to take you through all of the maths and everything. It looks like that if this has happened, it's at least 10 times the size of the biggest asteroid known to ever hit Earth. But anyway, to continue, so I zoomed in on this. I saw what looked kind of like an impact site. It looks like a hole in the earth. I looked further, did some further investigation. It turns out that this is heavily volcanic. This also looks like fiery land. If you look at it compared to the other land mass here, this looks like it has been scorched, this land. Even the shaping of it, you can see here, all of this looks like it was fiery land at some point. And you've even got what looks like a flame shape here. Now, I'm saying these are the shock waves caused by this impact as well, okay? That's what I believe that we are looking at here. Now, As I started to zoom out further, now bear in mind, obviously this was over a 6-hour period, like I said. Now, I also noticed in the ocean here, and what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to turn the Earth the correct way round. Now, you will probably see that this is something looking familiar. Now, the Earth is the correct way round, but obviously I wanted to take you on the journey that I went on, which the Earth was actually upside down, which shows you how ridiculous my knowledge was at the time. Anyway, here's the Earth, and it spins something roughly like this, kind of like this as it goes round, something like that. And basically what I did then, I zoomed out, because then I was starting to look at this and thought, well, this is actually quite interesting. You've got something that kind of looks like an impact point. You've got fiery land, you've got volcanoes around the entry point, and you've also got what look like shockwaves around the entry point as well. And I was thinking, well, this is looking pretty crazy, because this looks like an impact site from an asteroid. Now, what I did further, and this is probably going to be the bit that if you are interested in this, if you're open-minded, or you can see what I'm seeing now, this is the bit that's going to absolutely blow you away the most, because this is where I started to see certain things and I thought, no, this just can't be real. And this is basically where I just couldn't sleep at night, especially after finding this. So I started to zoom out, and then what I did, I noticed this in the ocean here. Now, what I'll say here, this to me looks like a cone shape in the ocean, if you can see that. And also perfectly, if you notice, you've got the entry point here. It looks like it's blown open the ocean bed here. So it's basically come across, hit into the Earth, gone into the ocean bed and blown it open here. Now, this is where things get real crazy, because if you look, you can see that there is scarring of the ocean that goes across exactly where we are saying that this has gone into the ocean bed and blown it open. You can see that there is scarring of the ocean bed that goes across this. Now, what I noticed first of all was there looks like there is almost some kind of explosion under the ocean here. And if you can see this, there are lines going in this direction, they're going in this direction, and it looks like it's almost hit in the Earth here and then exploded somewhat. Now, this is going to be the craziest thing you'll ever see on YouTube, because if we look at this, of where this entry point is, where this ocean bed has been blown open here, and we follow the scarring of the ocean bed across, then what I noticed was this. Now tell me that this doesn't look like an upside down cone shape, or the opposite cone shape, with a plume of water coming out of it. This, guys, is where I am saying or proposing that the asteroid left and came out and left our atmosphere. Now, if we look, and hopefully you can see this on my screen, you can see the entry point just to the right over here, and exactly, perfectly in line with that over to the left, you have the exit point. You've got one cone shape going in one direction where it looks like the ocean bed has been blown open here. And then at the exact opposite side, which is 10,000 kilometers away from the entry point, I've measured this, you've got the opposite cone shape with what looks like a plume of ocean coming out of the other side. So I was looking at this and I was thinking, okay, well, this is getting ridiculous now, because it genuinely looks like an asteroid has come over here, hit into the Earth. You've got the shock waves, you've got the fiery land, you've got the volcanoes around the entry point, you've got what looks like an ocean bed that's been blown open. You've even got the shaping of the land here, very peculiar. It's the only shape on the whole of the earth that's like this. You've got the scoring of the ocean bed, and then you've now got what looks like an exit hole with a plume of water also coming out. Now, taking this one step further, if you notice where the exit hole is, coincidentally, and you'll notice that sometimes in life there's too many things, can't just be a coincidence, or there's too many coincidences, and then when that happens, things become a reality. And I think that is potentially what we're looking at here, because guess what? At the exit hole of this, there is no landmass whatsoever, which is exactly what you would expect to see if an asteroid had come out of this hole and just blown open the Earth, basically. And you can see there's just no landmass. Now, the only land around this area, and it's only really found in this area of the Earth, it is absolutely littered with landmass that looks like this, kind of little O-ring shapes, if you can call it that. But you can see that very clearly. And this land here, all of this that you see here, all of these little bits, right where the exit hole is, all along here, that's the only place really on Earth that you find it, as well as along some of the scoring here, which you would expect if the ocean bed had been split open, then maybe some of the land rose to the surface here. You've got to bear in mind that this is going to be hot land. Now, I looked into this, okay, and these little pieces of land here are called atolls, A-T-O-L-L-S, I believe it's pronounced. And Darwin's theory of this is that they are formed by volcanoes. So basically, there's volcanoes in the ocean. A reef forms around the volcano, and then the volcano sinks and it leaves behind the reef. But there has been new evidence, I believe it was from a study in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, or even 2022, that's come forward where scientists, they're actually proposing that this happens underneath the ocean, still potentially by volcanoes, but it's underneath the ocean, and then these float to the surface, or it's the rising and falling of water. What I'm saying to you here is basically, we do not know. We do not know at this moment in time how atolls are or were actually formed. Here is what I am thinking based on what we are seeing here. I believe what you are looking at is that as this asteroid has hit Earth over here, come through, blown open the ocean bed, gone through, blown out the other side and left the Earth's atmosphere, I think what you're looking at with these atolls, these small pieces of land all over here, I think you're actually probably looking at the guts of the Earth. That's what I think that you're actually looking at. And I think that that is basically the insides of the Earth that's come floating to the surface here. That's why they have the shape that they do. Now, also, doing further research, it turns out that under this ocean area here, it is heavily volcanic in this ocean part here, which is exactly what you would expect to see if something has come through the Earth and blown out the Earth as well. Now, another thing as well, what you will notice, coincidentally, when I mentioned that there's no landmass here, tell me that this doesn't look like if something, let's just say something hit a watermelon. It's difficult to do, obviously, with my fingers because I'm on my phone, like I said. But if something came through, hit a watermelon, let's say, and just went through and blew open the other side, look at the shaping here, perfect to the exit point. You've got the exit point here, it's blown open all of the land, and it literally looks like, what I can only describe as like a watermelon has just been blown open perfectly here. And it is really exactly where the exit point is. Now, another thing, we talked about the flowing of the water originally in Mauritania over here, and the Western Sahara here, you can see it coming down here and coming across here. This is ridiculous amounts of water like you could not even imagine. And we said that it's flowed across the land in this direction from right to left. Now you follow it across, and like we said, it looks like it's very obviously come across in this direction. Well, guess what? If we go over to the entry point, turn the earth the correct way, look what happens. So the earth is spinning round, boom, an asteroid enters. It blows open the ocean bed, goes through the ocean, comes out the other side, leaves the Earth's atmosphere, sends mega tsunamis in this direction. That's exactly what you would expect. Well, guess what happens? If we look at that perfectly, it fits back to where we said the water was flowing originally. And it is quite literally exactly the opposite point of the exit hole. Now, what you'd also expect to see, if something blew out here, is mega tsunamis going in this direction, which fits perfectly with this land. Notice again how the land is smooth on this side, like ocean has shaped it. And also what you would expect to see is a mega tsunami coming back in this direction after it had exited. And it's exactly what we see here, smooth land running along that looks like it's been shaped by water, and then the water's flown in this direction. The ice caps, what you would expect is the ice caps to be in a relatively decent position. When I say decent position, away from the entry and away from the exit. And let's have a look at this. You've got the entry point here, ice cap way over here. Same as the other ice cap way over here. You've got the exit hole over here, entry point over here. The ice caps are also in a good position to avoid the extreme heat that would obviously have come with this impact. Some further information, because I've obviously been doing a lot of studying, research, whatever, to find this out, because I wanted to prove myself wrong, but so far in my studying, in my learning, I've not been able to do so. Hopefully you can help me prove myself wrong. You notice this dark shape that runs along here and runs around here, runs across, runs around. Now this is known as, it also runs way over here. You can see this dark shape here. It goes around here, goes around, all the way around. Basically, what this is known as the Ring of Fire. This is a tectonic plate. It's the oceanic tectonic plate. And it is known to be heavily volcanic. What I want to say here, I believe that if this has happened, this has caused the Ring of Fire. I believe it is this impact that has caused the Ring of Fire. This is the Ring of Fire, this dark bit here. It fits perfectly in line with where we are saying there is an entry point. And if we also go to the exit hole around here, this is also the Ring of Fire. And again, it fits nicely with what we are saying is the exit hole here. So I believe that this is the reason and the cause of the tectonic plates. I just want to mention something else as well, speaking about tectonic plates. I looked, and this could have potentially been what's called a subduction zone. A subduction zone is where an oceanic plate meets a continental plate, and the oceanic plate gets pushed under the continental plate, and then that causes mountains to rise. Here's why I do not believe that this is a subduction zone. Because if we look, the salt lakes in Bolivia, they are perfectly flat. If you've ever seen pictures or images, have a look at the salt lakes in Bolivia. And when we're talking about the salt lakes, this is over 100 kilometers across. They're perfectly flat. I believe that if this was a subduction zone, you'd also have ripple effects on the salt lakes in Bolivia. They wouldn't be so far back. And also, if you look, again, if they are subduction zones, it's very coincidental how the only subduction zone, or the markings of that subduction zone, the only mountains that could potentially be a subduction zone look like this, and they go around the entry point. They are so far away from the entry point. I've done the maths and done the numbers on this. The Vredefort impact in South Africa, they're about 50 kilometers away, the shock waves. These are about 400 to 500 kilometers away. So they're 10 times the distance. Now, I believe that they're shock waves because of the way that they are shaped as well. If this was an oceanic tectonic plate going under a continental plate, I think you would see more creasing of the land earlier on here, not just so far back. And obviously there's supposed to be subduction zones all the way along. This is the only area on the whole of planet Earth that is known to have subduction zones of oceanic plates going under, that the mountain formation looks like this. So I believe that these are actually shock waves. TheWorld.org, okay, because I was looking at this in terms of the plate tectonics. How did they come about? We don't know. We don't know how plate tectonics were formed. I believe this is why the Earth has plate tectonics. I believe this is why the Earth and the continents are shaped the way that they are, and the way they look the way that they do. TheWorld.org. This is from an article that I took. Before plate tectonics, the Earth may have been covered by one giant shell. In their report, published in the journal Nature, they suggest that for a long period of Earth's early days, the planet was covered by one solid plate, like an eggshell. Scientists still aren't sure how we might have gotten from an early solid crust to our present-day tectonic plates. They don't know. I believe this is how, and this is why, and this is what caused the cracking of that eggshell that was one solid tectonic plate to begin with. From the entry point to the exit point, it is exactly 10,000 kilometers. The Earth's circumference is 4,075 kilometers. If you take the entry to the exit point at 10,000 kilometers, I looked at it and roughly this went through about 20%. So it's sliced through 20% of the Earth. Now, what that means is it would have gone through the mantle. Because I was looking at this, you've got the inner core, you've got the outer core, you've got the mantle, and you've got the crust. I thought if this had gone into the outer core or the inner core, the planet would have probably exploded and everything would have just gone off into space. But it looks like that this is actually possible. I also did further research and learning on whether it was possible for an asteroid to pierce the Earth's crust to get into the mantle. Everything that I read, not that it's known to have happened other than what I'm proposing right now, but even without this actually happening, it's saying that in theory it should be able to happen, because there are three types of asteroid. There is metallic, stony, or I believe it's called chondritic. And the chondritic is made up of clay, organic material, etc. That's the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. If this has happened, then this will have been a metal asteroid. So you've got to imagine a metal asteroid. The one that wiped out the dinosaurs was travelling at 25 kilometres per second, 90,000 kilometres per hour. That's 60 times the speed of sound. Imagine a metal iron ball travelling at 60 times the speed of sound, hitting into the Earth as it's travelling, spinning around at a ridiculous temperature, because it will have heated up in the Earth's atmosphere, blown through the Earth, come out the other side, left and carried on its journey, and then left complete devastation in its path. So I think I have just about covered everything now in this video. So to summarize, what I am suggesting here is that the Earth has been spinning round. An asteroid has come in. Boom. It's hit in here. It's blown open the ocean bed. You've got the shock waves around here. You've got an entry hole. You've got the ocean bed blown open. You've got heavily volcanic around this area and volcanoes around the entry point. You've got the fiery shaping of land, and you've also got the land that looks like it's been completely scorched. I think then the asteroid has gone through, blown open the ocean bed, travelled through a slice of the Earth, come out at this side, which is why you see the plume of water coming out, the opposite side of the cone shape, blown open here and carried on its journey. And this is why you also see the Marshall Islands around here. I believe that this is the guts of the Earth. It's basically like a bullet to the brain, and that's why you see the ocean has flowed in this direction, and it's obviously just completely changed the shape of the planet and the Earth as it was at the time. So I think that's it, guys. Just one last thing. You can see the smooth land here. You'll notice in the flowing direction of the water, it's all smooth land. But then when you come to these bits, you see more spiky land, if that makes sense. It's kind of what you'd expect if something's been shaped by water, if it's been flown in this direction. And I think that is pretty much it, people. That's everything that I saw. That's everything that I have gathered so far. I'm sure there's going to be the odd thing, like, for example, that's literally just come to the top of my head, Zealandia. For those that do or don't know what Zealandia is, Zealandia was basically a continent. You've got the exit hole here. This is Zealandia. Kind of looks like the shape of the UK, if you can see that if I turn it round. This is New Zealand. Zealandia, 94% is underwater, which is the white area that you see here and here. And the 6% of the land mass that is left is New Zealand. The theory at the moment, I believe, is that it had a thinner crust and it sank, but we don't know. They think it's around 100 million years ago. Again, we don't really know. When you start speaking about hundreds of millions of years, it's very difficult to put a time frame on that. But again, it's very convenient that this is near the exit hole of this. This could be the cause, it could be the reason for Zealandia being completely submersed in water. And also, if you look actually at Australia here, it looks like very fiery land, which is what you'd expect if an asteroid came out here and it shoots scorching land all over the place. So yeah, I'm going to leave this one here. Well, there we have it, people. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of hoping that you're absolutely blown away right now, but I can't really see your reaction, so I guess we're going to have to wait to see how people respond to this. But it could be one of these funny ones that, you know, dance videos and pranks and this kind of stuff get millions of views, and then you put out a video like this that's you know, potentially rewriting history, one of the biggest discoveries ever, and it gets hardly any views. But that's the way the world works sometimes. But anyway, please do leave your comments. Not that I care about algorithm and all this kind of stuff. I'm doing this because I just want to know whether this has definitely happened or not. And I'm pretty sure now, if you guys have got a pair of eyes like I have, it looks like visually this has happened, because I've not found one single piece of contradictory visual evidence yet that goes against this. But if you do, please share it with me. Because either way, like I said, I'm happy to receive feedback. Whether it goes against it or it's for it, I really don't care. I just want to know whether this has actually happened. But it looks like it has, and I would say that it's quite big news if it has happened. But yeah, anyway, there you have the discovery video, people. love to you all. Well, I don't know, we're going to see what happens, to be honest with you, with the next videos. I said obviously about talking about black holes, the theory of everything, quantum mechanics, and then I also said about sharing about my ayahuasca DMT Changa experience and meeting the creator. But I think I'm going to see what the response is like from this first, because hopefully I get someone that I can speak with or share more information. Because let's face it, especially if you've watched it to the end, we both want to find out whether this is real or not. So anyway, rock and roll. Get back to me, people. Give me your feedback, please do. Let's get this out there, and I'll see you on an up and coming video. Thanks for watching. Peace and love to you all, and yeah, I'll catch you soon.